Hello, good evening. My name is Edgar Espino Barros, and I am the host for Random Access. And tonight we're going to talk to Robin Frank here, who has been working for KMVT for quite a while, and his area of expertise is lighting. So Robin, you've been here for a while, and you've also been in the industry for quite some years. Could you please tell us a little bit about your history, how you got into lighting, and what makes you such a good lighting engineer?
Well, in truth, I started lighting when I was in the 7th grade. What happened was, in the 6th grade, my mom sent me into the bedroom, or her bedroom, to get something out of a drawer. Well, my friends followed me in, and when I opened up the drawer, there was a movie camera sitting there. And they say, "You know how to take movies?" And I said, "Yeah." So they had me filming their little plays that they would write from 6th grade on. And then in 7th grade, we started going indoors and lighting. Because that required, we couldn't run the cameras without massive amounts of light back then.
What about your history in the industry? You know, did you start in film, or you went straight to video? How did you acquire your skills?
Well, again, we go back to the plays, and we learned 3-point lighting, and which was fun because we had to light each person separately, and we only had so many lights. So we had close-ups, and then we'd relight and do the close-ups, and then we'd relight because we were running on what we had.
So through trial and error.
No, we were learning, but, and you're right, trial and error, thinking about it. But when you only have 3 lights and 4 people, and you got to move for each person. And then an interesting situation happened. They needed a lighting person when my sister was a senior in high school to do plays. So I stepped in and did theatrical lighting at that time. And my parents made me go to school, so I actually have a conventional education in electronics, electrical, and electromechanical engineering. Oh. So I figured, well, that's going to at least pay the bills. So I did that during the day, and at night I worked in the TV stations. I started off as a volunteer, and within 2 weeks, they hired me.
Oh, cool. So you said that you did some movies, on your own when you were a kid, and then you also started doing lighting for theater. Now, could you tell me a little bit what are the main differences or similarities between photography lighting, film, and video? Are they all the same, or?
Well, no. Well, the principle is the same, but the means of doing it becomes different. Okay, let's start off with the simple classic portrait. You had a key light, which was typically the sun. You had a fill light, which was typically off a reflection, reflector, a light-colored reflector, and then you had a backlight, which separated you from the background, or else you kind of look like a carbon cutout on the back, on your set. Which then you'd have a single camera, and started off with painting like Michelangelo, Da Vinci, Monet, Gauguin. But in television, you've got 3 different cameras, so you've got 3 different directions that they can come at you. Now, in this classic portrait, it's just straight on.
Okay, so the complexity in video is because you have 3 cameras, you have 3 sources of images coming through there. During your career, what has been your biggest challenge, either creatively or logistically?
Well, it has to be a combination of creativity and logistically. And you have to also examine yourself and make promises to yourself that you're not going to hurt anybody or kill anybody. Because
that's good.
we had this thing called an El Nino here, and it poured. So I would pick up, get this, San Francisco State students that I was tutoring would drive down to San Jose State. I would pick them up at San Jose State, go to Morgan Hill, and then come up Highway 1 to go to Roaring Camp. Because these were all
So you were going to be lighting outdoors
in that rain.
In rain. Isn't that a little dangerous? I mean, how did you deal with that?
Like I said, first off, you make a promise that you're not going to kill yourself, and you're not.
Everything must be grounded, I suppose.
Well, one, you wear sneakers, any rubber-soled shoes. Two, you carry rubber bats in various places. Number three, all electrical connects, you use what's called an apple box. Basically, it's the size of an apple box, but a lot stronger. So what happens is the connects are above ground, so they can't end up in the water. You cover them in cellophane or vinyl, or you cover them
kind of
up,
plastic.
And set them up on top of that.
Okay, interesting. Good. Sounds hectic to me. Do you have any tips or tricks for somebody who's aspiring to do lighting or become excellent at lighting? I know that it's very important to do lighting. It's like sculpting, and without lights,
well,
you really don't have anything.
I always tell people that some people can paint with a canvas and brush. I can paint with lights and a backdrop. Now, I was discussing this with a student here just before this interview, a student. And the trick is, the secret to an expensive light versus a cheap light is the ease of control. The lights we have here have got barn doors, they've got a flood or spot, which is equivalent to a zoom lens on a camera, so you can widen and when you widen it, the intensity drops. When you narrow it, it goes up. But a cheap light, let's say you go to Home Depot, Orchard Supply, Lowe's, you can buy one of these clamp lamps. And all it is like a big scoop, no control at all. So you have to physically move the light in and out to get it brighter or softer. You have to set up light cutting things. We call them in the industry flags, but let's say the light spilling onto you, we'd have to flag it. The light that's for me, we'd have to flag.
So sort of like a mask.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
At any rate, but if you can learn how to control these inexpensive lights, the lighting for professional becomes very easy because the lights have got built-in controls on them. These have got a flood control. These lights have got barn doors, so you can cut light.
So when you get enough experience, you can kind of wing it with cheaper lights, as long as you know how to use it and how to diffuse it. So the main difference is the professional lights have built-in controls versus.
Right.
Okay.
And even when you're on location, let's say you're on location and weather's fine and you don't have to worry about time because of rain and electrocution. Here in the studio, you have a dimmer board, so you can bring up lights or bring them down from a remote control location, basically the control room. But on location, all you have is the barn door and the flood control. So you may have to physically play with the light position to get it at the level you need it.
That's interesting. And I'm going to ask you, you've been here for a while. You've been helping and teaching lighting and teaching the random access class for beginners. What is that like? What are the...
Well, the truth is, you always find it rewarding when all of a sudden you see the look on a student's face when all of a sudden they realize and comprehend what you're saying. Because when you start off with even trying to be gentle, you have to go technical to a certain point, and most of them have no understanding. When that moment of understanding happens, and they light up, and they know roughly what you're saying, and have an idea as to how to do what you're saying, that is fantastic.
One last question. When you light, do you usually have a concept already of how you're gonna light it, or is this or each of the projects have their own individual idiosyncrasies? You know,
Well,
sometimes you can light fast, sometimes it takes longer.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, in all lighting situations, you have to give the director what they want, or as close to it as can be done. Now, some directors appreciate extra input. Other directors, they want it dunk, dunk, this is the way it's going to be, period. When it's like that, yeah, it's good. But when they allow you to play, the show we did just prior to this was magnificent. I set up lights, and I was doing scene changes while the interview was going on and the musical was being played. Then it becomes an art form. I mean, not that it isn't an art form, but...
I think it is an art form. I mean, without lighting, you really wouldn't have much. I mean, you wouldn't have all those great movies, you know, that we have dramatic lighting and stuff like that. But it seems like lighting is a very important thing, and you pretty much have mastered those skills. You know, I've seen a lot of people come to you for help when they get stuck with lighting. Well, I just want to thank you very much for being here with us tonight. And again, this is Edgar Espino Barros for Random Access, and I want to thank you for watching this show. Good night.